Puff Puff Pass. It's the New Jersey Weed Man, and I'm listening to iCannabis Radio.
It's Thursday night here. Wow, that was super loud. What's happening?
It's been nice and hot outside.
Oh, yeah. I was out shopping today, treating myself, just to treat myself. And actually, I'm headed to the mountains to Bongathon, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I needed a fleece, so I'm in the hiking store, and we were both bitching how hot it's been. We haven't been able to backpack. It's no good. No bueno. So what have you been up to this week? I heard business is kind of busy.
We have been very, very busy. And we, this weekend, I'm going to go to Red Rocks with Audrey Hatfield from C for CPR, and we're going to go see Band of Horses. I can't wait.
Nice. And My Morning Jacket, right?
Yes.
I was telling you a story. One of my old jobs, I used to come in. I lived in the Midwest in a flyover state where they're from, and the city where they're from, and they used to come in constantly as a customer. And then, I went away for a while, and I don't stay up with that mainstream music. And I came back, and they were all big, and I'm like, no way, those kids that used to rent, whatever. So, yeah, it's pretty cool to watch a band like that grow up. So I'm headed to Bongathon. I've never been. I'm excited. I was lucky enough to score a pass from the organizers of Bongathon, and I want to thank them for that. Bongathon is an event we have here in Colorado. It's not specifically a red card event unless you want to participate in the festivities. It's in the middle of nowhere, which sold me right away. A weekend in the mountains with cannabis and bongs. That was a hard one.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit jealous.
Well,
I wish it was happening some other weekend.
I know, and I do have an extra pass that I'm yet to give away. So.
Dang it.
I know, right? It's on its way down here to be delivered right now. So there's a lot of news we're going to get to. Our first guest we're going to get on somewhere around 7:20, 7:30, a little later. He's an important guy. I think he may have had a meeting that might have went a little longer today. So there's a lot of things we're going to talk about, but, everybody out there has probably been watching the Olympics, so we'll just hit on that first.
I got a new TV. I've been watching the Olympics in 3D. It's awesome.
So, yeah, you were telling me about this TV. It, vibrates and serves you drinks. And
oh, yeah.
It's like your new boyfriend, kind of.
Yeah. I like him a lot.
Right. So, Michael Phelps. What do you think about Michael Phelps?
I think it's great that he's won all these medals. I think he's a great representative for the U.S. and for cannabis users. I
think he should, and has a responsibility to be a representative for cannabis users. He was called out unjustly because he smoked a bong, and who knows, he may not even smoke cannabis anymore. But at the time, he smoked a bong. You got a picture taken of him. Wow. He goes on to win more medals than anyone ever. Ever. I just, where's the argument from the propagandists, the prohibitionists? Where's their argument on this? All these arguments about how it makes you lazy, unmotivated.
Well, it was a gateway, too. Shouldn't he be a heroin addict by now?
Well, what we've seen is it's a gateway to winning a hell of a lot of Olympic medals. It's a gateway drug to that.
It's a gateway to winning.
Winning, yes. He's definitely right there with Charlie Sheen. Absolutely. It is what it is. Other athletes have been doing great. I honestly have not been watching the Olympics, so I can't give you an update from Overgrow8 Radio about the Olympics. I can only tell you about Michael Phelps. Sorry, my life kind of revolves around cannabis. Just a tad. So it looks like LA has 30 days. The mayor or someone put out this week that they have to close their dispensaries there within 30 days. And it's a shame because when this happens anywhere, patients lose their medicine. I mean, we're talking LA though. Imagine, and I'm not even sure, but imagine the number of patients out there that are going to lose their medicine.
Well, it's not just that. I think that's the biggest impact. But I mean, there's people who have invested everything they've made their entire lives into businesses that are going to lose their businesses. There's all the people that those businesses employ There's all the businesses that profit from dispensaries and grows, like grow houses, electricians, plumbers, all kinds of people that they employ. So it's going to impact a huge amount of people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's what these people don't realize is that whether you're for or against cannabis, medical or recreational, it does. It impacts your whole community. These are communities that now in California since, 96 basically have, that's been a part of their community. There's been money that's flowed in from all fingers that branch off of the cannabis industry.
Well, that's the other piece of it, though, also, is that the government is actually screwing themselves because they're going to lose all that tax revenue.
They're idiots. We know that. Speaking of government, we should digress a little bit. You talked about Audrey. Before I came up here this week on Monday, I stopped down at her protest. It was a good turnout. I had a good time. It was fun. We were protested in front of Dan May's office, which, we talked about it before, and like I said, I think it was a great way to get the word out there and educate the public. I saw Corey, your prosecutor. I think when I called him by name, it caught him off guard a little bit.
Did it?
I asked him if he was prosecuting any cannabis patients or caregivers, and he said, well, not right now. And I said, well, good. At least you're not wasting our money right now. There was a good turnout, and James, we won't use his last name, but an activist from here in Denver dressed up as Dan May, did a papier-mâché costume.
And he did a great job of that. It was great.
Yeah, you saw photos?
Yes, and it had to embarrass Dan May, and that makes me very happy.
Well, and the same thing happened to us at Occupy with Mayor Bach. Apparently Dan May popped his head out the door, and the folks that were standing by the door, no one else saw him, and they didn't know who he was. And then he asked, well, what are you here for? And they're like, to protest Dan May, and Dan May was like, well, I'm Dan May. But then he went back inside, of course. Uh-huh. I wish I had seen him. We did have coverage from KRDO, which I always have to give props to. Eric Singer was out there, my buddy Eric.
They do a great job of coverage around this. It seems like they're a lot more fair and open-minded than the other news channels.
Absolutely, and they do. They cover everything cannabis that they can get out to. Unfortunately, during your guys' trials, as we talked about, no one could come. Well, not so much yours, but
for
Bob's.
Mine, I got some press coverage, but Bob didn't because of the fires.
Yeah, but we're all healing now, and they can actually focus on other things besides our tragedy there. Not to whine. No whining, no whining. We can move on. Gore Vidal, who was kind of an unknown cannabis activist. He was an author, writer, playwright type guy. One of those eccentric, artsy folk. He passed away this week, and he actually did some op-eds back in the day, 42 years ago to be exact, about cannabis. And back then, for anyone, especially any journalist in the mainstream, to come out and do that, that was pretty big. So, our thoughts go out to his family. Any time we lose a advocate, it's never a good day.
No.
No bueno.
We have the young man in Mississippi. This is tragic. That they're trying to say that when he was stopped and they found cannabis in the car, that they searched this young man, they patted him down, they handcuffed him and put him in the back of a squad car, and they say that he had a gun on him, pulled the gun out while he was handcuffed. This guy was talented.
Well, they searched him twice.
And he pulled the gun out while he was handcuffed and managed to kill himself. And I don't believe that's true.
I'll put my opinion in, and I don't see color. When I look at someone, I don't see black, I don't see white, I don't see yellow, I don't care. I see idiots for what they are, I see smart people for what they are. I've been to Mississippi. There's a lot of good people there. That being said, there's a lot of bigotry, there's a lot of that culture still. The police in the South, I'm going to go on a limb and say the majority of them are testosterone-driven idiots who really shouldn't have guns. There's no way that adds up.
Oh, and you know what? This guy's from Mississippi, but this happened in Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, it's no different.
No, it's not.
Arkansas actually may be a little worse than Mississippi.
Yeah.
No, they're both really bad. They're very draconian. There is a lot of prejudice in both places. And it's a very sad thing. It's a story, when you read it, you have to scratch your head and say, how the hell did he do it? I think it also said something about him being, like, right-handed and, the angle he shot himself would have been impossible. It's...
Well, how in the world could somebody search you twice and not find a gun?
You can't. Well,
And then handcuff you, and you're supposed to be able to get it and shoot yourself? I can't even... It doesn't make any sense.
Well, and I think a lot of the police departments have in place where, if they're taking you into custody, they do search you twice, and it's supposed to be by a different officer. And to me, this is another piece of this that doesn't add up, because a lot of people who have been taken to jail will tell you they don't get searched twice. They get searched once and slammed in a cop car, depending on how pissed off the cop is. And in doing so, it just sounds right there in those circumstances like that was put into the report to make it sound right. And if you notice, too, I believe it says that one of the cops was, away from the car and heard a thumping sound.
Yes.
Of course one of the cops was away from the car. It's always that way. I didn't see anything. Well, yeah, they can say that, and then it's all good. So, I mean, definitely our hearts go out to that family. That was a young kid, right?
He was 21.
Yeah. And I'm sure he got killed by cops. I have no doubt. It happens. It happens every day. If you don't think it happens, wake up. I mean, that's pretty simple. So we should plug, we kind of forgot in the very beginning, my friend Bubba has extended his offer really, I guess, through at least the end of the month, the end of August, for the 5Cs Cannabis Run, which I threw a hat up here tonight to promote him. I'm not really a hat guy, but we definitely put him around the studio. He's offered anyone that calls him from now until 10 o'clock can have a pass for half price. And let me explain what you're getting. It's 41 dispensaries across Colorado, so if you're like me and you get bored and you like to go on road trips, it's pretty cool. You just go pick up your meds and judge them, and there you go. So they normally go for $300, so $150. Calling before 10, Bubba's number is 720-490-1857. Again, 720-490-1857. And while we're sort of still talking about SoCo, let's just plug you guys real quick. We don't really give your address. You don't have a commercial. So why don't you just talk about for a minute like what strains you guys have right now.
Okay.
Talk about your hash, because I know you always have the best hash.
Oh, well, on 420 we won the contest for the best hash in Southern Colorado. We also won for our hash best one-hit wonder and longest lasting effect. And my daughter Leah makes all the hash, and she's very proud.
She should be.
She is the hashtress.
I call her my, oh God, what was it? My hash goddess.
Ah.
It's amazing.
And right now on the shelf we have some wonderful Colombian gold. We have LSD. I love LSD. It's about a 50-50 mix.
I like LSD too. Not as much nowadays. Oh wait, we're talking about cannabis. Never mind.
We have some purple haze and some East Coast sour diesel. I think we have about 12 different strains on the shelf right now, and but we get different stuff all the time because we harvest every day. So
yeah, you guys do. I'm like an old lady. Like, being a guy who's disabled, I have some time to kill, and I like to go shopping, get all my stuff fresh at the store. So I kind of do the same with my cannabis. I mean, you guys are like family, so maybe part of it is I come to see you each week.
Oh, you come to flirt.
Well, you do have a lot of pretty ladies that work there.
Yes,
I mean,
we do.
if I were going to go buy cannabis somewhere, it doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't hurt.
So, where are you guys located?
We're at 2815 North El Paso. We're just off Fillmore in Colorado Springs.
And your hours are?
We are open from 8 to 7, Monday through Saturday.
And that's probably the closest we're ever going to get, as far as a commercial goes, from you guys at
Probably.
SoCo. So I think if our producer's ready, we're going to cut away and do a commercial real quick and pay bills. And then we're going to go through some more news for about 15 more minutes. And we're going to get Mr. Rosenthal on the phone. Pretty exciting stuff. He's got a new book out, and he's the guru of ganja. So stick with us. We'll be right back on Overgrow the Radio.
Peace.
Hi, I'm Josh Stanley.
And I'm Jesse Stanley.
Two of the brothers here from National Geographic's American Weed, and we'd like to invite you to come into our dispensaries in Colorado Springs. Come in for the most pure organic strain selection in Colorado. It's all hand-grown by the Stanley brothers, especially for our patients. So come in and visit us at our two locations, East Platte and West Colorado. And remember,
always be kind to each other.
The Clinic is proud to announce the third annual Clinic Charity Classic Golf Tournament benefiting the Colorado MS Society. The tournament will be held at City Park Golf Course this coming August 11th. There will be some incredible prizes, including an opportunity to win a trip for two to Hawaii. The trip includes airfare, 8 days, 7 nights at the Ritz-Carlton Kapalua, including 4 rounds of golf and $1,500 spending cash. Thanks to the incredible support of Weed Maps, Hetty Glass, Rocky Mountain Hydro, T. Meyer & Stitch, Dixie Elixir, and MMJPrinting.com, we're able to provide awareness to this incredibly difficult condition that so many Coloradans are suffering from. The event will be covered extensively by our favorite industry media outlets, Culture Magazine, The Hemp Connoisseur, Kush Magazine, and of course the amazing people at iCannabis Radio. Please register at thecliniccolorado.com or at any of our 6 convenient locations throughout the Denver metro area.
Let's face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding. Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
Hi, Josh Stanley here from National Geographic's American Weed. I'm here with my brothers, and we've just recently put together a foundation in Colorado to allow for cancer patients and other patients of debilitating conditions to be able to get a hold of cannabis-based oil that's just about free of charge. I've just about had it with seeing sick patients suffer needlessly just because they can't afford the proper medication. That's what the Realm of Caring is going to change. Visit therealmofcaring.com. The website will be complete and up on 4/20 of 2012. But until then, please contact any of us Stanley brothers directly through email. You can get us at gratefuljosh@hotmail.com. Now come on, Colorado. We need to take care of each other. Join the Realm. That's realmofcaring.com. Thank you so much.
Hits from the bong.
Welcome back to Overgrow the Radio.
I've been taking some hits from my bong. I was going to put it up on screen tonight, but it's gotten a little dirty. I found that wax does that. So before next week's show, Daryl, I will clean the bong up so I can promote some Green Monster Glass products on the air.
It is nice and pretty, and it is a nice bong. It works really well.
And I found your weakness.
You did. I can't take your great big hit.
No, you can't.
I don't have those lungs.
You coughed like I do on wax, and it was great. I loved it. And it was fun.
He laughed at me.
I did laugh at you. So yesterday I talked to Candace Junkin, who we actually had on the show a few weeks ago. She's from Moms for Marijuana out in D.C., and we're working on our October rally out there. I actually have my logistical meeting next week with the feds. That's always a good time. They call me bright and early in the morning, whether I'm ready or not. You know, you got to be pretty medicated to deal with feds, whether it's on the phone or in person. So, 10:30 in the morning is not really enough time for me to get that level.
You have to work harder.
Well, I guess I'll just have to get up that morning, a little earlier, have my coffee and more bowls. Mm-hmm. It'll all work out. So I was reading yesterday, I guess ASA, like a decade ago, filed a lawsuit basically, turned in petitions and The DEA forever now has been, denying the rescheduling requests. Well, they finally got a hearing in D.C., and it turns out it's our rally's on a Monday, and this is on Tuesday, October 16th. So I'm going to reach out on the air right now, and I'm actually going to get in touch with our friend who's friends with friends, and we're going to see if we can't get them involved with our rally, and we'll stick around and support them. D.C.'s where it has to happen. My whole genre, my whole life focuses around the feds and getting them to wake up and smell those coffee beans or cannabis seeds or whatever they want to smell. It's I just, at this point, in our world, knowing what we know, how can you just not shake your head every time you think about feds?
It just still amazes me that they work for us.
They do?
They're supposed to.
They did. There's a couple more Fed stories we're gonna get to. We'll just talk about the Department of Justice. They're asking that there be fewer prisoners because we can't afford our prison industrial complex anymore. Go figure. So in doing so, they study all these stats and statistics. And the quote that I read in this article, and I won't quote it, but it basically says, use your best judgment and decide what needs to be, what people need to go to prison. But they don't address the nonviolent drug offenders sitting in prison. Yeah. I love live radio sometimes. It's fun to trip over words. So that's something, if you guys out there listening, you should definitely be writing representatives, Congress, anyone you can write, email, call. These are the type of things that can only really be changed at that level, the federal government being that level. So do your part. I know I call the White House. I call my reps constantly. I'm pretty sure the volunteer operators at the White House know my voice. There's one lady in particular that just seems like she knows me when I call. So I guess me knowing her voice says something, huh?
Yes, it does.
So the good old feds, that's what's going on there. What are you going to do? So with the lawsuit, let's really hope, this Court of Appeals, I'm not, I don't know how much confidence you have in a federal Court of Appeals.
I really don't have any.
No, I don't either. Every once in a while, there was the DEA judge back in the 80s who, came out and said that cannabis was the safest substance he ever worked with, who was promptly fired. But, every once in a while there's one of those out there. But it's not the norm. They usually just go along with their corporate oppressors and do what the string pullers tell them. It's a sad thing. Cannabis being in the same schedule as heroin and cocaine and meth meth is Schedule 2. My bad.
Yeah, meth's not as bad as marijuana.
No, smoke all the meth you want. It's only Schedule 2, but don't smoke cannabis because it's Schedule 1, and we know, by scheduling that's more dangerous, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, Jesus. So we're going to talk about what's going on in different states. We'll start here in Colorado. We just had our new numbers come out recently, and back in 2009 when I moved here, it was crazy. It was like the gold rush.
It was the gold rush.
It really was. It was the green rush. And I think, in the springs, we were at a few hundred dispensaries.
We were over 200.
Yeah.
And
approaching 3, I think.
Well, I was at those very first meetings when they were giving us rules and regulations, and the crowd of people has changed.
How so?
Well, you used to see people who were very much, they looked the stereotypical stoner.
Like me. You can say it. Like Stickman, with your piercing and your long hair. Fucking stoners.
But the room was filled with that type, and it seems like nowadays when there's a gathering, it's more business people.
Oh, absolutely. I get stereotyped a lot, and then I start talking to people, and they're like, "Wow, you don't match your look." I'm like, "Yeah, don't be like that." Yeah, it is very much. I know most everyone I work with in the cannabis world, we all try to portray ourselves and what we do very professional. I think in the organizations I work with, I always personally stress that, and I think it's very important. I don't care personally if, I have tattoos, obviously long hair, piercings, beard, yada yada. And I think that's great. I think you should be yourself. You can comb your hair and dress nice and maybe even put on cologne once a month or 6 months. I do wear deodorant before you make that comment. I'm not that much of a hippie. But yeah, I think it's important not to judge the book by its cover, but at the same time, it's also important for us as a community to put our best foot forward. Because we are, whether we like it or not, in Colorado. And even though they say it's a swing state, we've got a whole lot of conservative folks here that don't like cannabis.
Well, and the other part to that is those were huge rooms filled with people. Now the meetings are small rooms.
Yeah.
With a few people.
And that's depressing. I mean, it's worrisome because it's the American way. People get complacent. And when we get complacent, whether it be in the cannabis industry or anything, that's when the government takes over and strips you of everything you've worked for. Well, we saw it firsthand, one of my board members, Craig Baresh, out in San Diego. That's exactly what happened there. They worked very hard to keep their dispensaries, and they got complacent, and what do you know? They came in and took them. You've got to follow through. You've got to keep hammering until you can walk in. And I hate to ever say this, but I say it all the time. Until you can walk into 7-Eleven and buy a pack of doobies. None of us are safe. Until the feds go home. Until the DEA is doing something like working in a fucking soup kitchen where they're worthwhile, rather than busting people for a plant and throwing bombs into their house where their kids and dogs are. I mean, come on. Common sense, right? So anyway, let me get off that rant and shake that off. Colorado, we actually dropped, about the time that we had HB 1284, our red card holder numbers really dropped. There was a few reasons for that. A lot of people were scared. I would say that was the main reason, actually. They thought that the list was going to go to the feds and to the state and to the police and everyone else. And
that was the big question that I got in my dispensary was people would call and say, is there a list that the police can look up my name?
Right. And the thing with that is, no, there's not. One thing I will give the state kudos about is Amendment 20 has really done a good job at protecting
the patients, yes. So far.
Right, so far. Now, we do have some secret meetings going on.
And they're trying to poke some holes in that.
Yeah. See, you got to be my field reporter on that because I haven't kept up. But, yeah, the secret meeting thing is worrisome. Anytime that goes on, especially when they're talking about giving the police all of our names, no bueno. Not good at all. But, the numbers thing, it did go down during 1284, and it looks like, the most recent numbers, we're back up 99,000 registered patients. That, in my opinion, I think it's important to go get your red card. It's, $100 investment, basically, with your doctor's visit, and they've dropped the state fee. It's $35, right? So, I mean, it's not a big investment, and if you're strapped financially, actually here in Denver or the Springs, either one, our friend Audrey, C4CPR. What's her website, though? I think it's .org.
.org, yes.
I'm just going to put that out there. If it's wrong, Audrey will correct me, I'm sure. But you could Google it, C4CPR. Audrey's an awesome person. She's a good friend of both of ours.
Yes.
What happens there is if you're a low-income patient, then you can get basically almost free meds. I mean, throw her a little bit of your time for helping you out, and the world is kosher. Pay it forward. So we're running down to the wire here. In Colorado, I think the numbers thing, like I said, I think it's important that everyone has a red card. These numbers are a little deceiving because here in Colorado, red cards are optional, which we saw proved in both yours and Bob's trial. I wish they would have said it a little bit more in Bob's trial. I tried to coach the attorneys on that, but they thought I was just a lay person. They didn't think I'd sat through many trials before. Monotonous trials. But anyway, it is optional. So, in my opinion, I would say there's at least double that here. That's a big chunk of the population. When you have 200,000 people advocating for something that's huge, or, that base anyway. What we need to have is a bigger percentage of that 200,000 that actually does come out and advocate.
Right.
And by doing so, I mean something as simple as going out and getting your red card. That's where, in my opinion anyway, the more numbers, the better it looks.
There are still a lot of people who are afraid to get a red card. And I still see that. I mean, I had a lady who was a nurse the other day who said, I really could use this. This would benefit me greatly for my health, but I can't put my name on a list where I could possibly lose my employment.
Yeah, and I understand that. I mean, that's a big concern. That's another thing we should really be working for is patients' rights and that workplace rights. There are a few medical states that have those. I know there were 3 states that were allowing even deductions for cannabis, and I don't think we've talked about this, and the feds came in and said no, I believe, and now they can't. So it's like we take a step forward and they want to come chop us down and send us 2 steps backwards. Before we cut out to commercial real quick, I'll just end by encouraging people. I mean, I obviously am pretty out there. I go to D.C., I do this, I do other stuff, and, I don't hide my face. I'm not a closet activist, and I have a red card. It's private, whatever, but I have a red card. So, I encourage everyone, if I can do it and they haven't come after me yet, surely you can go out and make that simple statement.
I was sort of a closet
you were
person. I did not, on Facebook, I didn't put what I did for a living on my personal page and things like that until I was dragged into court and had to defend myself. And they made an activist and they made a voice out of me.
And you know what we both learned? Closets are for clothes. We love you guys. We'll be right back on iCannabis Radio's Overgrow Radio.
Peace.
The clinic is proud to announce the 3rd annual Clinic Charity Classic Golf Tournament benefiting the Colorado MS Society. The tournament will be held at City Park Golf Course this coming August 11th. There will be some incredible prizes, including an opportunity to win a trip for 2 to Hawaii. The trip includes airfare, 8 days, 7 nights at the Ritz-Carlton Kapalua, including 4 rounds of golf and $1,500 spending cash. Thanks to the incredible support of Weed Maps, Hetty Glass, Rocky Mountain Hydro, T. Meyer & Stitch, Dixie Elixir, and MMJprinting.com, we're able to provide awareness to this incredibly difficult condition that so many Coloradans are suffering from. The event will be covered extensively by our favorite industry media outlets, Culture Magazine, The Hemp Connoisseur, Kush Magazine, and of course the amazing people at iCannabis Radio. Please register at thecliniccolorado.com or at any of our 6 convenient locations throughout the Denver metro area.
The law offices of Edson, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
California's Attorney General has determined that the Repeal Cannabis Prohibition Act will save hundreds of millions of dollars from our overburdened justice system while creating hundreds of millions in new tax revenues from new sustainable jobs and industries that are friendly to our environment. But we can't do it without your help. We are seeking your donations to get on the ballot. Please go to repealcannabisprohibition.org to learn more about how you can help. It's time to end the war on cannabis and hemp in California. It's time to end the madness. Paid for by Sensible Californians Incorporated.
Hi, I'm Josh Stanley.
And I'm Jesse Stanley.
2 of the brothers here from National Geographic's American Weed, and we'd like to invite you to come into our dispensaries in Dispensary in Colorado Springs. Come in for the most pure organic strain selection in Colorado. It's all hand-grown by the Stanley brothers, especially for our patients. So come in and visit us at our 2 locations, East Platte and West Colorado. And remember,
always be kind to each other.
My name is Gary Johnson. Today I reach out to you, members of all political parties. I reach out to everyone with a vote and an axe to grind. From the Tea Party, the Constitution Party, the Green and Libertarian parties. I call out to all of you, including the disaffected and disillusioned among the Republicans and Democrats. Today there's a handful of people in Washington ruining America for 330 million of us. They've kept our nation in a state of perpetual war and increasing unsustainable debt. This small group has presided over the elimination of our Bill of Rights and the systematic dismantling of our freedoms guaranteed us under our Constitution. It is them we should be fighting, not each other. We the people will never agree on the small things, but let's agree on the big thing. Our leaders have blown it. If we don't get control of this ship together and fix it together, we all go down with it together. I ask you to join me in trying something that's never been attempted before in America. Let's put our parties and our differences aside one time. Be libertarian with me for one election. Together, we'll stop the spending and end the wars. Together, we'll rebuild our own roads, bridges, schools, and hospitals instead of building theirs half a world away. Together, we'll restore our industrial might and our economy. And if, in 4 years, we as a people decide we don't like peace, prosperity, and freedom, we can always vote tyranny back into office again. America is better and brighter than this. Be libertarian with me this one time, and I'll prove it to you. Live free.
And welcome back to Overgrow the Radio.
Live free. What a crazy concept, you Gary Johnson, you. What do you think you are, a presidential candidate or something?
I like that man.
He's got my vote. I don't mind saying it. I'm going to actually get in touch with his folks and get him back on our show again. There's so many issues when he was here last time. Chris is going to dial Ed up, I think. But while we're getting Ed on the phone, just to plug Gary real quick, you know, there's so many other issues we could have went off with him about. His passion during that interview was amazing. Hello. If anyone hasn't. Hey, Ed, it's Stickman and Elisa from Overgrow the Radio. How are you?
Yep. Good. I'm fine.
Very good.
How are you?
We're doing good. It's a little warm here in Denver for our liking, but other than that, we're good. So we're excited to have you tonight. We've got about 1,000 things we'd love to talk to you about, but we've got 20 minutes, so we'll, do our best. I'm going to let you kind of introduce yourself. I called you Ed, and a lot of folks aren't sure, you could be Ed anyone. So I'm going to let you jump in and tell us who you are and give us a little background on yourself.
Well, I don't want to spend too much time on this. My name is Ed Rosenthal. I'm a researcher and a writer and an activist, and I've been involved in marijuana for many years. All different phases of it, from cultivation through political issues.
So I'm really curious, Ed. Back in 2007, I go after the feds constantly. I do a thing in D.C. a couple times a year, and a lot of our show is very political. We go after both state, local, and federal government. All three, actually. And, I'm curious about your ordeal back then. You kind of took a stand against the federal government, and honestly, I didn't know a lot of the details until I read about it. First off, kudos on that. A lot of people won't do that. Why did you decide to do that?
Well, it wasn't really my decision. If it was up to me, there wouldn't have been a trial, and I wouldn't have been indicted.
Right.
I was indicted, and so, it wasn't really my choice. And I thought that what I was doing was right and was protected by the law, and so I went to trial over it.
Well, and it was not only protected, but weren't you also, you were kind of hired by the city of Oakland, if I'm correct?
That's right. I was an officer of the city of Oakland, and my job was to provide clones or provide marijuana to patients. And what I decided to do is to provide starter plants so that they could grow their own.
That's, there's some irony there because my co-host just recently beat charges here in Colorado on cultivation and distribution.
Yes, I did.
And we spent a good day in the courtroom debating whether clones were even really plants. And I think, we kind of won that argument to the effect here, at least in that case, that they're not plants.
Mm-hmm.
So, to fast forward, 15 years or so, nowadays in Colorado, they don't even see those as plants. So they came in then and tried to prosecute you for that, I'm guessing.
That's right. Well, the federal government did prosecute me, and ultimately they won the trial, but they lost the war in that everything that they wanted to achieve in that trial, it didn't work for them. They wanted this to threaten the community in Northern California, and it didn't. And they wanted to stop the number of soda plants being distributed. After I was arrested, many more people started doing that commercially. And then another thing, they probably wanted to stop me from my activism, and that it was a very reverse of that. And another benefit was, they had this program, propaganda program, Think of the Children, what about the kids, and what would the kids think? And then they found out when my daughter said, my dad helped sick people, my dad's a hero. And it went viral all over all over the internet and in newspapers and on TV all over the country. Sure. And my daughter's 8 words there destroyed a multi-million-dollar propaganda campaign that the government had been running for maybe 15 years.
It's amazing how people listen to children, right?
Well, it just it showed that they couldn't use that anymore, and so basically we had, the trial. Also, another thing that it did, it changed the paradigm in which the way people thought of marijuana, at least the way the press handled it. And the reason for that was that the New York Times handled this as a front page article, and they didn't put medical marijuana in quotes. So that made it respectable.
Well, and I think a thing I'm gonna ask you here in a second, but a thing that caught my eye in what I was reading is they didn't allow in your trial, for you to even mention that you were an officer of Oakland. They suppressed that. And that, that's, for folks who don't know, that's the case, isn't it, in all federal trials right now, is that you can't mention the medical necessity.
Right. And, once the first jury found out about that, they got really upset, and they came back on the next court date, and they confronted the judge. I mean, not physically, but just by being there, it was a confrontation.
Oh, sure.
The judge was not very happy. And, they had really nasty words to say about the judge.
Sure. We've actually, knock on wood, in the trials we've sat through in the last month here, we've had really good judges. What we see here, what our battle is locally, is the ignorance in the offices of the district attorney as well as the police departments. They sit up there and testify, and, I said multiple times that my 9-year-old daughter has more knowledge than they did.
Well, you see, actually, whether or not they have the knowledge, they are pretending that they don't. And the thing about the marijuana laws that I've come to realize is, just as the environment is with the environment and with racial issues and with many other issues, it's a question of science versus myth and superstition. And so basically these are deniers of the Enlightenment. I mean, it goes back to that we thought that the question of the Enlightenment and how advanced we were in the Enlightenment was over. But then we have these people who refuse to accept science, research, or knowledge, and instead rely superstition, intuition, myth, and don't deal in reality.
Sure. I have my personal opinion. Obviously, I'm very opinionated, as my co-host would tell you. But I see a multiple branches as to why it is still this way. I mean, obviously, these people aren't ignorant. They do have common sense. They're able to read books. They got through law school, most of them. In your mind, Ed, what do you see the main reason? I mean, do you see it as big tobacco, pharmaceutical? What do you see the main push as behind the war still on cannabis?
Well, it's a jobs issue for the criminal justice system, and that's a primary thing. And then a secondary thing is that, with any other drug that people might use, there's a negativity to it, so that you could say that it's sort of an instant karma. And when they look at, for instance, a heroin addict or somebody who's using amphetamine, they might have empathy or sympathy or contempt, but they certainly don't see an equality. But with marijuana users, they're having a good time and they're not dysfunctional. And so that really upsets them, because they have, I think that the police today, the people who apply for police have a fundamental or much more authoritarian mind than society in general. And then another thing that creates that situation with the police is that people who, for instance, who use marijuana would not consider becoming an officer, because they'd have to give it up and they'd have to enforce laws that they don't like. Mm-hmm. So more and more we've had police that are atypical of society and don't approve of society. So they think that they are the thin blue line between anarchy and civilization. And that's a second reason. So the first is the jobs. The second is this feeling of it's like a moral feeling about it. And then the third issue is that all of our lives we've had more and more laws to deal with, and the state has become more and more like a police state, with more and more ways that you can be arrested, and more and where people have less individual freedom. And this would be the first time that we're taking back freedom from the criminal justice system after they've taken it away. And that sets a bad precedent for them. So they're really opposed to changing the laws for that reason. They only want to show that you don't need a police state.
Yeah, absolutely. How would they keep the prisons full and promote the police state if they weren't arresting, 60% of their prisoners are nonviolent drug offenders, if not more? That statistic may vary there.
Well, and they also seize all these assets. That's how they make the money for the police departments also, so.
Yeah, Ed, I wanted to ask you on your last point. I know I see this as a problem, and I'm sure you probably agree with me, but nowadays with our economy basically sucking, for lack of a better term, people come straight out of the military, and the first job that is good for them is wearing a badge. I personally, a lot of these folks, and God bless them, they are protecting us and doing right, at least on their level. It's not them making the bad calls, but they come home with a lot of mental issues. And a lot of them aren't diagnosed, and a lot of them go right into law enforcement. Is this something, do you guys see a lot of that? I know we do here because we are surrounded by military bases. Is that something you guys see a lot of out there? Is that an issue in Cali?
It's happening all over the United States. So that's not atypical.
Right.
Yeah.
I just wanted some reinforcement.
Yeah. And what I'm working on right now with Green Aid is we're working, Child Protective Services, in California is seizing children from people who are marijuana users, both medical users and non-medical users. So we've been working on these cases, and that, can you imagine a parent having their child taken from them because the parent's using marijuana?
Yeah, it happens here periodically.
Well, it's actually it's happened a lot in California because the state collects money from the federal government for putting these children up and getting them adopted. So in some counties of California, this is happening quite a bit, and it's also happening in Michigan and perhaps in other states. So we've just started to develop a task force on this, and you can look at it on our GreenAid site. Can you imagine separating the child from the parent because they use marijuana? Unbelievable.
Well, I would lose my biggest cannabis warrior if that happened to me. As I said before, my 9-year-old, she's pretty educated, and she's not scared to stand up and educate folks around her, which is awesome. Ed, we've only got like 10 minutes to go here, but I want to get to your new book. We share a mutual friend, and when she told me you had a new book out, I wasn't aware, so I was really excited when you guys sent me a copy.
Yes.
Well, first I wanted to plug the fact that how many books do you have out at this point?
Well, I don't know. There are a lot of them, but I have a series of new books out that I think are really important. Marijuana Growers Handbook is very important. This new book, Marijuana Pest and Disease Control, and I also have a book on how to make different oils and things like that.
Nice. I would like to have the...
That's called Marijuana Gold, Trash to Stash.
Awesome. I'm going to have to order the Grower's Handbook. I'm trying to get back into a little cultivation, and it's been a few years.
Yeah, we'll be happy to send you a copy.
Nice. Very good. You guys sent me the Pest and Disease Control, and I had a little bit of time to go through it, and I love that in the first part that you address each specific bug and problem that you can have, and then you guys go on in the second part to give solutions to it. A lot of books don't go into that kind of detail.
I am really impressed with this. I have 10,000 square feet inside, and we've dealt with a lot of this stuff, and I looked through your book, and I am going to have one.
Yeah, we're going to need to place an order with you guys for a couple books, I think. Actually, my co-host may be able to sell some of your books for you in her dispensary. I suggested that. Mm-hmm. I gave you a quick plug at how great your books are at walking people like me who are kind of dummies through processes. So, Ed, before we do run out of time, is there anything, do you want to plug, what you're up to, plug your website, your organization for folks who don't know about you?
Well, I would hope that everybody goes to GreenAid. That's green-aid.com. And you can read about Daisy Brown and the other cases that we're doing. And GreenAid is a 501c3 corporation, and its subtitle is the Medical Marijuana Legal and Defense Fund. And the only problem with that title is that we have no funds.
So everyone out there listening should buy more books.
We're doing important cases, and we hope to get a task force together to change California policy regarding these kidnappings and adoption and fake adoptions.
Nice, very good. Well, I know you worked in a lot of AIDS research too. One of our guests that'll be back on here, I guess, next week, Dr. Robert Melamede's got a pretty exciting project out in D.C. going on with that. I didn't know if you had any contact with him, if you guys had ever worked together, but, when I knew you were coming on as a guest, I thought that would be something. If not, you guys should totally kind of hook up and chat about it.
Well, we are friends, but he's doing this incredible work with using Simpson oil, which is a type of marijuana concentrate, for curing skin cancers. So
Sure.
you're going to have a great show on.
Well, we have, before we get out of here, I can tell you, we've got a pretty exciting, one of our other shows is the Stanley Brothers, and they have an organization here locally, the Realm of Caring, realmofcaring.com, and we're getting oil here in Colorado to patients at pennies. I'm personally, really, I think at this point, their only pain patient. I use it for back pain. But it's great, we've got dispensaries donating trim, and they're making the oil, and then they're running it through our MIPS and getting it for, hundreds of dollars worth of oil for 2-3 cents a vial. So it's amazing work. So, we appreciate all that you do, and Dr. Bob and the Stanleys and everybody who's out there helping sick people. So I'd love to get you back on at some point if we can do that.
Yeah, I'd love to be on anytime.
And we'll maybe let you teach us how to grow.
Yeah, we could start on that.
Very
do
good.
A few tips. Yeah.
Right on, Ed. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was an honor to be able to talk to you. I don't think we've ever actually met in person, so someday when you're in Colorado, give me a shout, and we'll get you in here.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, you guys have a great night.
Have a great evening.
Thank you. All right, we're going to take a break because it's time to smoke some bowls, and our next guest is here waiting patiently. And not a guest anymore. He's actually part of our show. Charles Houghton's here, and I'm going to ask him how I'm supposed to plug him, being a sponsor. How do I announce him? The great Charles Houghton.
Esquire.
But anyway, we're going to come back with our new Ask an Attorney segment. We haven't really got a real name for it yet. So if anybody out there has any questions, we didn't really put this out there. If you want some free legal advice, doesn't have to be about MMJ. If your ex punched you in your eye, if your landlord kicked you out for smoking cannabis, whatever the case may be, give us a shout. We'll be back in about 5 minutes here on Overgrow Radio. Peace.
California's Attorney General has determined that the Repeal Cannabis Prohibition Act will save hundreds of millions of dollars from our overburdened justice system while creating hundreds of millions in new tax revenues from new sustainable jobs and industries that are friendly to our environment. But we can't do it without your help. We are seeking your donations to get on the ballot. Please go to repealcannabisprohibition.org to learn more about how you can help. It's time to end the war on cannabis and hemp in California. It's time to end the madness. Paid for by Sensible Californians Incorporated.
Hi, I'm Josh Stanley.
And I'm Jesse Stanley.
Two of the brothers here from National Geographic's American Weed, and we'd like to invite you to come into our dispensaries in Colorado Springs. Come in for the most pure organic strain selection in Colorado. It's all hand-grown by the Stanley brothers, especially for our patients. So come in and visit us at our two locations, East Platte and West Colorado. And remember,
always be kind to each other.
The law offices of Edson, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
The clinic is proud to announce the third annual Clinic Charity Classic Golf Tournament benefiting the Colorado MS Society. The tournament will be held at City Park Golf Course this coming August 11th. There will be some incredible prizes, including an opportunity to win a trip for two to Hawaii. The trip includes airfare, 8 days, 7 nights at the Ritz-Carlton Kapalua, including 4 rounds of golf and $1,500 spending cash. Thanks to the incredible support of Weed Maps, Hetty Glass, Rocky Mountain Hydro, T. Meyer & Stitch, Dixie Elixir, and MMJPrinting.com, we're able to provide awareness to this incredibly difficult condition that so many Coloradans are suffering from. The event will be covered extensively by our favorite industry media outlets, Culture Magazine, The Hemp Connoisseur, Kush Magazine, and of course the amazing people at iCannabis Radio. Please register at thecliniccolorado.com or at any of our 6 convenient locations throughout the Denver metro area.
Hi, Josh Stanley here from National Geographic's American Weed. I'm here with my brothers, and we've just recently put together a foundation in Colorado to allow for cancer patients and other patients of debilitating conditions to be able to get a hold of cannabis-based oil that's just about free of charge. I've just about had it with seeing sick patients suffer needlessly just because they can't afford the proper medication. That's what the Realm of Caring is going to change. Visit therealmofcaring.com. The website will be complete and up on 4/20 of 2012. But until then, please contact any of us Stanley brothers directly through email. You can get us at gratefuljosh@hotmail.com. Now come on, Colorado. We need to take care of each other. Join the Realm. That's realmofcaring.com. Thank you.
Are we back on Overgrow the Radio? We're back on Overgrow the Radio. Our break sometimes catches us off guard, and we're still like finishing up a little bit of our, medication hour. Okay, medication 5 minutes. We don't get the luxury of an hour here. We've got work to do. So as promised, our new segment's starting. What we're doing is we're bringing a few new segments in. Drew's been in, and then David was in from THC, the Hemp Connoisseur. We want to add a little variety so you guys don't get bored. At some point, Elise is going to be leaving us.
Yes, I am.
I didn't really want to say that tonight, but we'll throw that in. I am going to be kind of looking for a co-host if anyone is into radio and is as beautiful and intelligent and talented as Miss Elisa.
You just like my marijuana.
Well, I can still come get marijuana from you. I know where you are. Anyway, Charles is a good friend of mine. We sit on the board together down in the Springs on the Cannabis Council and try to do a lot of good work. We were out spreading the good word a couple weekends ago at Pride Fest, and then again, the day before at Blues Under the Bridge. That whole weekend for me was a blur. I went home and went to work. So, we've got a lot of projects going on. Mark Slaw, I think we're going to try to talk to him at the end of the show tonight and kind of touch on a couple of those. But we'll jump in with Charles. You've been on before, sort of, but we want to get, obviously folks know your name, but what's your background, Charles? What got you into cannabis law, and, where'd you come from?
The way I got involved in dealing with cannabis was I was appointed to the City of Colorado Springs medical marijuana task force. And that was back in late in 2009. The city council put together some people that could help draft the rules and regulations for the industry. And so they put together a task force. There were a couple of attorneys on the task force, and I was one of them. There were patients, there were physicians, there were caregivers, there were growers, there were dispensary owners. We had members of law enforcement. We, just anybody who had any say-so on what was going on, we tried to bring them all together. Over the course of several months, we kind of hashed back and forth, figured out what the pressure points were, where people wanted the regulations to go, what they were going to look like. And as that process started, the state also started their process, and I became involved at the state level, monitoring the regulations. I went up and testified a couple of times in front of the Senate about their proposed rules and regulations. I spoke, with the then director of the Medical Marijuana Enforcement Division about, problems that we saw with what the regulations said. And as both processes move forward, I started meeting dispensary owners, I started meeting patients, I started meeting caregivers and growers, and they became my clients. My background is in business law, zoning, planning, commercial leasing, litigation related to those things, and regulatory matters.
You helped us with our lease.
Yeah, I helped you with your lease. So anyway, the kind of the way I got into it was people were asking about regulations, and they said, well, like Elisa, what about our lease? What do we need to look out for in our lease? How do we set up this business? What do we need as far as a set of bylaws or operating agreements to make it work? How do we come into compliance? What do the rules actually say? How do we make it all work? And as a result, I put my head down, started reading had a lot of conversations with both city officials all over the state, county officials all over the state, and with the med, and developed this kind of level of expertise in telling people, how do you run a medical marijuana business as a business, and how do you stay compliant so that you don't get shut down? So that's how I got involved, and one thing led to another, and now I'm sitting here.
Right. I have a simple question on that before we go on. In all that you were involved in, what was easier? Was it easier to work with the city of Colorado Springs or the state of Colorado?
I think that it was probably easier to deal with the city of Colorado Springs because the task force had more of an opportunity to interact with the city council and to educate them. Because what we found is that education was the key. It was a big spooky monster when it first started. Nobody knew what was going on. Marijuana in general had kind of a shadowy past, and people didn't understand what the intent was with medical marijuana or how it was going to work with just, how do you run a business that's associated with it. When we dealt with the city council, we had numerous opportunities to talk with them. Tanya Garduno from the Colorado Springs Medical Cannabis Council put the council together. I ultimately became, their legal advisor, but she was instrumental in getting the city council members out to the dispensaries so they could see them. Because once they realized what was going on and how it was being done, then a lot of the mystique went away from it, and they realized it's just another business. I mean, it's dispensing a very vital medicine to people who desperately need it, but it is a retail business, and it is just that benign. It's not a big boogeyman that you have to worry about, and there's not pot parties in the back or any of that kind of stuff.
Well, maybe at iCannabis Radio, but it's allowed.
Yeah, but but not at a center.
No, right, exactly.
Definitely not.
No, absolutely, and that's key. I think that centers. Wow, I'm echoey. It's key that centers work with people like Charles, I think, and stay in line because we are tightly regulated here. You know what the services you offer are very valuable. We were gonna go on that and kind of talk about you've continued really to work with state, local officials on regulation. I was reading the paper the other day. Never read the paper. I think I picked it up at the coffee shop and I saw Charles's name in there. I think that's why he decided to come on our show and do a segment. He's out in the open now in papers and stuff, so he's like, yeah, why not? But anyway, I kind of wanted we try to keep somewhat informed for the folks down in the Springs and bring that flair up here to the Denver market. So I kind of wanted to talk about that for a little bit, about what you've been doing down there with El Paso County and what's going on. I mean, obviously there's new rules or something happened that folks might want to know about.
Yeah, the Board of County Commissioners is the body that takes care of medical marijuana regulation in El Paso County, and that's anything outside of the city of Colorado Springs in the unincorporated areas of El Paso County. When, again, concurrently with working with the city, the county was also passing rules and regulations, and they adopted what they call the medical marijuana policy. It's the same. It's an ordinance. It outlines the rules and regulations, where they can be, buffers, zones that they can be in, just the normal land use kind of things that go on, and the business regulations. What happened just recently was the Board of County Commissioners, at the prompting of the county attorney, said we need to take a look at these medical marijuana policies in light of what's really happening. In El Paso County, there are very few centers or medical marijuana businesses at all. So they don't have a large influx that they had to worry about, but they had some rules and regulations that were ill-suited to what was actually going on. So they decided that they were going to make some modifications. I went to the first meeting when they brought it up, and they asked if I could do a red line, meaning that if I could write the version that I wanted to see, take theirs and change it, So I did it, sent it to all the county commissioners, and they took a look at it, and then it was finally heard last Thursday. And the big, I guess, changes were the buffer zones, the need for a neighborhood survey, moves within very short distances, that the way they had those classified, and then they changed the fees somewhat, but the change in fees were so minor that, I mean, one of the fees went up $75 a year, and then they created another $50 fee, so they weren't even worth mentioning. It was more of a housekeeping with that.
Now, the buffer zone, it went up to 1,000 feet from 500, is that correct?
Yeah, and the buffer was originally 500 feet from
houses,
pretty much everything.
schools, playgrounds.
Schools, playgrounds, residential areas, religious institutions, state licensed child care facilities.
What if it's a cannabis church?
I don't know.
I guess that's a logical question, because there are, here in Colorado even, we've had one on our show at one point. We have cannabis churches. They're much more prevalent in California than here.
Yeah, I don't know how they would look at that, but
that'd be an interesting question.
That would be an interesting argument, yeah. But anyway, what they did is they changed the buffer from 500 feet to 1,000 feet. Part of that was prompted by the letters from John Walls from the U.S. Attorney.
Sure.
Because it doesn't make a lot of sense for a municipality to set a center up for failure or a grow up for failure. We're going to allow you to be within 1,000 feet, only to know that
they're going to come in.
They could come in.
Well, and we saw that with our friends, the Stanleys, their dispensary.
Exactly.
They were grandfathered in. I mean, a lot of the dispensaries that shut down were grandfathered in by local government. They knew they were closer than 1,000 feet. They said that's okay. And then the feds put their fist down, and, well, we know what happened.
Yeah, because the city of Colorado Springs, the buffer was only 400 feet. So, anyway, that was the genesis of the change. I argued that it ought to be only for schools or those things that fit within the Drug-Free School Zone Act. They said, not so fast, they're camper. We're going to make it 1,000 feet for all of those. When you look at where it's allowed right now, there's only 4 zones in El Paso County where it's allowed. It really doesn't make any difference, because the 4 zones where it's allowed, where those 4 zones lie, they're not 1,000 feet from anything. So
sure.
It's probably, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Well, and I would think, and maybe I'm wrong here, but maybe that's a good thing in a way, because it shows that maybe they're looking ahead down the road. The feds are in my opinion, they're picking away. That's what these letters are. They're looking. They know they're losing. They know that legalization's coming in many states, full legalization. Let me clarify. And I think maybe, at least in my little teeny mind, the county is looking ahead and saying, okay, they may come out with letters saying, well, now you can't be 1,000 feet from the swing set, because you might, accidentally drop a bud on your way into your dispensary, and that little Johnny might pick it up and, have a better time at the playground.
Yeah. Well, no, and that was a large part of the discussion, was, just exactly that. The feds had said, they started enforcing that 1,000-foot buffer from, schools, private universities, blah-de-blah-de-blah, everything that's in the Drug-Free School Zone Act, and I think you're right. They are looking forward. They, like I said, they don't want to set someone up for failure and say, okay, you can do it at the county level. Oops, you're within 1,000 feet. Now the feds are going to come shut you down.
And that's a good thing.
Oh, I agree. I mean, if you want to have these businesses in your community, you want them to be successful. I mean, it's just like any business, and so to do anything other than to make them successful is just foolish. And they saw that, and I was very happy to see it. I wish that they hadn't done the other, included the other uses, within that 1,000 feet. But because of the way it's laid out already, that change really didn't change that much.
Sure.
We didn't give up anything, is what bottom line is.
Sure.
Okay.
So that's good.
Yeah.
I think we're going to take a break. I've got a couple of questions. I'll run it by you during the break and make sure they're appropriate, 'cause sometimes I'm not appropriate.
You? Not appropriate?
I know. But let's real quick before we go to break, and we'll let our producer get ready for that. I want to talk about our sponsors. Charles is actually a quote-unquote sponsor. Do you want to plug yourself, because you haven't given me any information or we haven't done a commercial? How do folks, if they need your services down in the Springs or anywhere in Colorado for that matter, how do they get in touch with you?
Easiest way is through email. My email address is cthlaw1, the number 1, at gmail.com. Or you can call me at 719-351-4261. As far as medical marijuana, well, pretty much everything I do. It's a statewide practice. I don't care whether you're in Denver or Durango. We'll make arrangements to do whatever it needs to be done in order to get you the representation that you need. And I'd be happy to talk with you about whatever your problem is.
And Charles has done a great job for my dispensary. So.
Well, thank you.
Nice plug.
Yeah.
We're very lucky to be surrounded by great attorneys here.
We are.
I mean, in Denver and the Springs both. I sometimes feel like I have a safety net for what I do in life. Feels good, you know. We'll move on to you, SoCo MMJ, which we plugged earlier. We don't have to go into a big, long spiel, but in my opinion, some of the best meds in the Springs. I can't say the best meds because that would really piss off our other two sponsors down there.
That's true.
If you can't get to SoCo, like if it's a Sunday, you could cruise over to Indispensary. I believe they're open on Sundays. They have locations on Platte, and they used to have one on Bijou, but the feds shut them down. But they still have one on West Colorado. So either end of town, you can go see them. Great people, independent records also. We just do the whole conglomerate, Realm of Caring. If you're a dispensary and you're not donating trim to the Realm of Caring, please do. You should be. I won't shop with you unless you are, or you're in the process of doing so. realmofcaring.com. Get a hold of Josh or Jesse and help them out. We're helping cancer patients every day, and the more trim we get, the better. So the Hemp Connoisseur, David was on last week to start his segment. They're sponsoring. The Hemp Connoisseur, I believe, is co-sponsoring a golf outing next week that the clinic's hosting. We're going to try to get Ryan in from the clinic so they can plug it and tell you a little bit more about it. iCannabis Radio is also sponsoring it. I should know more about it, but, you know, I don't. But you can pick up the Hemp Connoisseur in many, many locations. They're in 7-Elevens all across the state, which is awesome. It's definitely a magazine that I'll put on my coffee table and not worry about my daughter picking up and reading. Elisa was only able to find like one half-naked lady in it. That's pretty damn good for our industry. So I highly recommend the folks over there advertising with them and picking up their magazine and reading it. Green Monster Glass, the folks who gifted me my beautiful, very dirty, oil-stained bong. They're amazing. If you need to stock your shelves with reasonable glass, you got to get in touch with them. I think you can find them on Facebook. You can search a web for them, but I don't think their website's done yet.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Daryl said they were working on it, but I'm not going to plug it because I don't think it's done yet.
Okay.
And, of course, We Grow Colorado. Drew, he'll be back in a week or two to do another segment. He is right in the middle, sort of the indispensaries and on the other side of town from Elisa on Bijou. So if you can't get to those, you know, and you're, you know, walking distance, go see Drew. I was over there the other day. I got some alligator OG. It was pretty tasty.
Yeah?
It was. I won't lie. I think I picked up a pre-roll and a little bit of hash, too. Because every time I go see you guys, you're always putting shit in my bag. I get out in the car, and I'm like, oh, okay.
I'm curious about, I've heard that he is such a great grower. I'm curious enough that I'm going to go visit Drew because I want to test his bud.
And that's saying something because Elisa will turn down a lot of cannabis that I offer to her. But, of course, let me clarify that all of these people who take care of me always bring it up properly under the MIPS code of charging me like 2 cents for a doobie or a penny for whatever. So it's all legal, so fuck off. Sorry, we're going to cut to commercial now. We'll be right back. We love you. Peace.
Peace.
The Clinic is proud to announce the 3rd annual Clinic Charity Classic Golf Tournament benefiting the Colorado MS Society. The tournament will be held at City Park Golf Course this coming August 11th. There will be some incredible prizes, including an opportunity to win a trip for 2 to Hawaii. The trip includes airfare, 8 days, 7 nights at the Ritz-Carlton Kapalua, including 4 rounds of golf and $1,500 spending cash. Thanks to the incredible support of Weed Maps, Hetty Glass, Rocky Mountain Hydro, T. Meyer & Stitch, Dixie Elixir, and MMJPrinting.com, we're able to provide awareness to this incredibly difficult condition that so many Coloradans are suffering from. The event will be covered extensively by our favorite industry media outlets: Culture Magazine, The Hemp Connoisseur, Kush Magazine, and of course the amazing people at iCannabis Radio. Please register at thecliniccolorado.com or at any of our 6 convenient locations throughout the Denver metro area.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding. Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
Let's face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706.
California's Attorney General has determined that the Repeal Cannabis Prohibition Act will save hundreds of millions of dollars from our overburdened justice system while creating hundreds of millions in new tax revenues from new sustainable jobs and industries that are friendly to our environment. But we can't do it without your help. We are seeking your donations to get on the ballot. Please go to repealcannabisprohibition.org to learn more about how you can help. It's time to end the war on cannabis and hemp in California. It's time to end the madness. Paid for by Sensible Californians Incorporated.
Hi, I'm Josh Stanley.
And I'm Jesse Stanley.
Two of the brothers here from National Geographic's American Weed, and we'd like to invite you to come into our dispensaries in Colorado Springs. Come in for the most pure organic strain selection in Colorado. It's all hand-grown by the Stanley brothers, especially for our patients. So come in and visit us at our 2 locations, East Platte and West Colorado. And remember,
always be kind to each other.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it on grass. Runongrass.com.
The law offices of Edson, Mayton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
Hi, Josh Stanley here from National Geographic's American Weed. I'm here with my brothers, and we've just recently put together a foundation in Colorado to allow for cancer patients and other patients of debilitating conditions to be able to get a hold of cannabis-based oil that's just about free of charge. I've just about had it with seeing sick patients suffer needlessly just because they can't afford the proper medication. That's what the Realm of Caring is going to change. Visit therealmofcaring.com. The website will be complete and up on 4/20 of 2012. But until then, please contact any of us Stanley brothers directly through email. You can get us at gratefuljosh@hotmail.com. Now come on, Colorado. We need to take care of each other. Join the Realm. That's realmofcaring.com. Thank you so much.
Bringing me back with that hard, heavy metal stuff all late in the show, trying to wake my ass up. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I think we were just saying we need to get the Realm of Caring in here. Their website's been up for 4 months now. It's the 8th month of the year. That means 8/20 is approaching, guys. Come in and do a new commercial.
It's almost my birthday.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of my sponsors, our sponsors, that need to do commercials. SoCo MMJ, Charles Houghton, We Grow Colorado, Green Monster Glass. So really all of them.
You have a bunch of slackers.
That's why I talk about you guys. And I was joking before the show. I kind of look like a corporate whore here with all my displays. But I feel bad. All these people, sponsor and help out the show. And none of them get in to do commercials and stuff. So I try to show, SoCo's beautiful cannabis and, the beautiful glass of green. You know the story. Anyway, we're gonna jump back in with Charles. We did not, and I'm gonna apologize to you because next month I'll have email questions at least for you. I didn't push it. This was kind of a hey, let's do a segment, and we didn't. We had a week or so really, and it's been busy. We're moving, as you see. What do you think of our new studio?
I love your new studio.
We haven't even talked about that tonight.
Yeah. No, this is great.
Yeah, this is our first Overgrow in the new studio. I mean, compared to the old one, we can run circles in here. There's a lot more room. The green room.
The green room's awesome, but Chris is going to have to practice on foosball because I kicked his butt tonight.
Chris got beat like a little child by Elisa.
And I didn't get here soon enough to even go play.
Oh, we've got time afterwards. That's the thing with our new studio. We can actually bring audiences in. We have a projection screen out front. Which we had last night for iDab. There were a few of us out there hanging out doing dabs. Not a bad place to be. So yeah, in the future we will open up some shows and folks can come down and hang out, play some pinball, watch some Overgrow the Radio. So Charles, I have a couple questions, and we're going to at least get to one of them before we have to call our next guest. It's been months ago now, but being here in Denver, I stay in hotels a lot. I'm up here doing manager stuff all week, and I went to one of the big corporate hotels. It's a little nicer. Hampton Inn, I believe, is what it was. And, I approached them, and as I do, I smoke tobacco. And I always ask, if they're a non-smoking hotel. I don't mind smoking tobacco outside. I don't like stinking up my hotel room. Cannabis, on the other hand, the smell dissipates. Does not stay in fabric like tobacco smoke. And I need to medicate. I have chronic pain all day, every day. I have no way around it, and when she told me it was a non-smoking hotel, I explained to her I was a patient, and I can tell by his look where we're going with this, but I'm gonna draw it all out for you because there's probably people out there wondering this. I explained a process, instead of taking pills that I consume cannabis, and she did suggest that edibles, which I was curious how she knew because she didn't say she was a patient. But anyway, they denied me a room on the basis, that I couldn't medicate in my room. And I even offered to use my vape pen at the time. I was all excited. I had just gotten one of the first vape pens. So I was curious about that. Do we have any rights as patients when we do travel in a legal state? Well, in Colorado anyway.
The answer is more than likely you're going to be subject to the policies of whatever the hotel is, and it's going to be the same with anything. They're not going to differentiate smoking tobacco from smoking medical marijuana, even though you, as a patient, I got to be careful the way I say this. You have a right to the medicine, and you have a right to possess a certain amount and to use it in a way that, first of all, it can't be in public view. Obviously, a hotel room would not be. But because you are renting that room, if you will, they have the right to say, okay, there's no smoking in here, and we don't care what it is that you are smoking. I think that if push came to shove, that's probably not a fight that you would win.
So probably just on the basis of it being private property, they could say as management, we don't allow that.
Yeah, and we spoke briefly about whether it's discriminatory or whatever. I don't think, first of all, being a patient, a medical marijuana patient isn't a protected class, so you wouldn't be afforded the same protections for discrimination that the other, minorities, other racial, female, whatever, that you would involve if you were a protected class. I wish it were otherwise, and I would hope that hotel chains would start to recognize the need to provide at least an area for people that need to medicate, that they can do so in a way that they choose. My personal opinion is using a vape pen really smoking? Because the whole idea behind a vaporizer is it heats the product up to just below its flash point.
Mm-hmm.
So are you really smoking it? 'Cause
Well,
it's not really burning.
If you're familiar, in Canada for a while, you were allowed to use your vape pen on the plane.
Yeah.
on airlines up there, on a certain airline, maybe not all of them, but in Canada you could.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's vapor. I mean, that's what it is, vaporizer.
Yeah.
I will preface that question, or in that question, with the fact that I did find a good hotel here. It's one of the weekly. It's an extended stay America, and I just want to give them a plug, because when I walk in to get my rooms now, I'm there most of the week. The guy is always like, you need a smoking room, does the old pot smoking gesture. So they're very friendly. If you are a patient, they, advocate or push our show out for us even. The manager of the hotel listens periodically and tells all our friends about our show. So you can find places here in the state when you travel. I've had another hotel, don't remember what it was, down in Durango. It was a no-smoking hotel. The lady's like, you can sit on our front porch and medicate. I don't care. So, there are places that are very patient-friendly. I think we live in a state, whether they're for medical or not, they realize it's here and that it's not going to get them high if someone's medicating in their vicinity. Ideally, it would be like California, where you could medicate anywhere someone could smoke. I have one more quick question before we call our guest. And I haven't been able to talk to you about this in depth, and we got to keep it short because we don't want to keep Adam too long. But as you know, recently one of our other associates that sits on the board was pulled aside in the courthouse and told that they were going to press harassment charges against me. They being Dan May in the DA's office, and I haven't really even went into this on the show in depth. My question is, what happened, you were there for some of it, but during Elisa and Bob's trial, I made it a habit to try to talk to them and talk facts, not say you're an asshole or anything like that. Be very, like we're doing, minus my random swear words here and there. Very low tone, not a threatening tone in any manner. Conversation, in my mind, and I smile a lot. I like to think I'm a friendly guy. Maybe not. But anyway, my question is, where is that line? I mean, I know they can pull some pretty shady stuff in a lot of counties. El Paso would be right up there on top. But, where is that line of harassment? When you're out at these protests and you're in the courthouses at trials, I mean, is it really harassment just to talk to a DA?
I don't think so. And the reason why I don't think so is that, first of all, a courthouse is a public forum. The way the courtrooms are designed are for people to be there that are in the general public. You have a right to go, unless the judge says otherwise, you have a right to go and watch any legal proceeding that you want. I think that if you approach someone and ask them a question and they refuse to answer it, if you continue to press, it's kind of like the reverse. If they did it to you, would you consider it to be harassment? Mm-hmm. If you would, then knock it off. Sure. But if you wouldn't, I think you have to let your common sense be a guide there. Sure. But to approach someone and ask them a question, I don't think that amounts to harassment on any level. And I just, I listened to, I wasn't there personally and I didn't see what went on, but I listened to what you told me, and it just seemed that everyone was overreacting to a pretty easy situation. And again, I think it goes back to education. That, for some reason, some people still have in their heads that anything to do with cannabis is, an evil thing. And it's not. And the people that are involved in it are not criminals, and they should not be treated that way. Mm-hmm. And so when you go up and talk with one of these people, perhaps in their mind, you've got 3 strikes against you just because of the way you look. Sure. And that's not the society that I want to live in, and that's not the society that we should have to live in.
Oh, well, we absolutely saw that mindset in the very beginning of Elisa's trial when they wwere making comments like they could smell our meds and we didn't pay taxes and we were a bunch of dirty hippies. I actually had a DA flat out tell me I didn't pay taxes. When he asked me why I asked him the question. And I said, well, respectfully, because I pay your salary. And he said, you don't pay taxes, you dirty hippie.
And that's
that came out in the courtroom. I mean, and the thing, the irony there is, they at one point during Bob's trial, they went to the judge, before they went to Cliff and said this, and basically said I was making faces at the witnesses, which was absurd, and that I was pursuing them, in the hallway and pestering them or whatever. And, the judge kind of agreed with you that it was a waste of time and it was nonsense. He really took our side. I think to appease them, he put an order out that there were no photos on that floor, which that's another separate issue, which I don't think's okay, but, another time. I think, again, it's something that we see in the federal government, in the state government, and local, where there's ignorance. They weren't happy that there was the support there for these guys.
The judge actually at one point kicked out everybody who was watching my trial for a while.
I was the only one allowed in. I actually got VIP. I got to sit up in front of the partition with her. I was pretty stoked about that.
Yeah, I mean
I was your son, wasn't I?
Yes, you were my son.
My adopted son.
My adopted son.
But judges have the right to control their courtrooms, but you always have to balance that against, the public's right to see things.
Sure. We're gonna get Adam on the phone. We can ramble on for a second while we get him on the phone, though.
But I again, it just seemed to me like there was a huge overreaction for no good reason.
Well, the DA's office was very upset that there was that many people in the courtroom for support.
Well, the DA's office needs to learn to not prosecute cases against people that are innocent. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Absolutely.
I mean,
maybe we'll get Adam. Maybe we'll just keep talking.
Yeah. I mean,
Hey, Adam. It's Stickman and Elisa on Overgrow8 Radio. What's happening?
How you doing, my friends?
Doing good. We're joined. Charles Houghton's up from the Springs. He started a segment with us this week. You have any questions for an attorney real quick? You want some free legal advice?
I'm usually hoping I don't have too many questions, but those things always can change in a heartbeat. You know that.
Absolutely.
Hey, Adam, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
How's the move going?
Hectic as usual, last minute stuff always, but we're getting it together. I'm actually at a Home Depot right now trying to
nice. We like doing interviews at Home Depot. I was told I'm meeting our friend Jennifer from Can Labs at Bongathon this weekend, and she just called me to get caution tape to cordon off our area, and I didn't know where to get it, and I'm like, oh, light bulb, Home Depot. You can get anything there. So, Hood Lab, dude, I honestly am not that familiar with you guys. I want you to give us a background of what Hood Lab is, and then, we'll talk about your events and your move and all that.
Well, Hood Lab is actually an extension of Hood Lamb, which is our clothing company out of Amsterdam. We've been around about 18 years, so it's one of the oldest hemp companies out there. And we specialize in outerwear, like our winter jackets, which are the Hood Lamb. Those are the signature pieces from us, and those are the ones with the fur lining and the secret pocket and the paper dispenser and lots of savvy stoner features, but that
I just got to jump right in right there as a hiker and a person who's outside in the winter a lot. We need to talk off the air about an iCannabis Radio discount for one of those.
Oh, for sure. I'm always down to help out, fellow people in the industry, because
I'm totally kidding. I would like. I'm sorry.
We have literally saturated the market of stoners when it comes to clothing. When this was it, So,
absolutely.
But yeah, for sure. So the clothing line, basically, we're like the original Hood Lab, which is the one that was on Santa Fe, was pretty much the first dedicated hoodlum store in the world. Even though we sell to about 300 shops worldwide, there was never a shop that, even in Amsterdam, the shop was pretty much a hemp store related to everything hemp. And what we decided here to do is to work on real. Hood and Lamb dedicated shops so people knew exactly where to get at all times, And Colorado being the perfect environment for it, So.
Yeah, we're a bunch of hippies. We like hemp and cannabis here.
Yeah, everybody likes, everyone loves the winter here. That's the one thing. I grew up with, I hated the winter, Everyone's always down on the winter, and here it's all the opposite. I mean, everyone's mood changes. Everybody seems to be much more into it once the winter kicks in.
I love wintertime. I found last year I have a horrible back, or a couple of years ago I tried to snowshoe and I found I can't do that. And then last year I found I hurt my back more when I tried to sled down little kid slopes. So I'm still looking for that perfect activity that makes me get that glow about winter, but I'm working on it.
Sure. I mean, I'm guilty myself where I'm just too busy to even make it out there, but I'm sure, and I also know myself really well.
Sure.
That, I'm going to love it too much, and I'm going to be spending my time not doing my job,
Yeah,
like all these
I
other
know.
people.
I know how that is, the whole limited time thing. I haven't backpacked in way too long, my friend.
Just drop the phone.
You guys, what Charles said, you're actually moving this week. You do an event, on First Fridays, which we'll pitch after this. But where are you moving to? What's going on with that?
Well, we've been showcasing different artists, so it's usually, it's been art related all the time. But this new space that we have is much bigger, and we're going to start to incorporate more live music and things like that into our parties. Just because that's another thing I noticed about Colorado. We love live music, so. That's like kind of the goal is to kind of create a little bit of a cultural kind of a nicer place which is smoker friendly and give people an opportunity to kind of chill out together instead of being always it's like one thing to be like able to go to a dispensary and buy and take it to your house, but I don't think that's the most healthy atmosphere sometimes. I think it's a lot of it's social activity creates kind of health in my opinion.
Yeah, you guys had an event recently. You had Captain Paul Watson, who if I had a healthy back, I would be on the Sea Shepherd in a heartbeat. I understand you guys make all the clothes for them.
Yeah, we've been working with them for about 2 years now, and we outfit the whole crew. And with Watson, we actually the reason we got involved was on the first season he got shot by the Japanese, and he had to. He was wearing a vest, but the thing is he doesn't always wear a vest, and we actually made a bulletproof version of our jacket already for Snoop Dogg.
Nice.
So we decided to make one for Paul Watson too. And the first couple that we made, we just did them kind of like charity, But now we sold probably about 25 of them now because it seemed to be a sought after idea.
Well, it seems lately that I piss off one government official right after the other, so maybe we should talk more about that down the road.
Yeah, that's what everyone who says you need a bulletproof jacket, I'm always like, well, if you really need one, okay, I understand, but we hope that most people don't.
We were just talking about I sat during Bob Krause and Elisa Kaplan, my co-host. I sat through their trials in the Springs, and the DA, I had this game where I would converse with them. And they literally were trying, maybe they still are, I don't know, trying to press harassment charges against me for talking to them.
Really?
So I don't make a lot of friends with what I do. So you guys, you're moving. Where's your new address?
The new spot is going to be on 3354 Larimer, so it's literally 1.5 blocks from where the Expo Center was, where they do the Cannabis Cup every year. So it's
right
actually
downtown.
Definitely a good little atmosphere around there. I noticed that it's the up-and-coming part of town. All the neighbors there seem to be really excited that we're coming, so it's going to be. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be like a great move, actually. And the only reason we really moved from the last place is that we outgrew the spot, so that's always a good thing,
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what we're doing here at our radio station. We had to move too.
We just
you got to get down here at some point and see our new place. It's pretty sweet.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
One of the things I've always really liked about Denver and coming up here that we don't have in the Springs, and we were kind of hit on it a minute ago, is the police up here are much more lax. The events at Castleman's and different places I've been to, you can just stand right outside and medicate, and no one says a word. Is that?
Yeah, I think it's the way it should be. Of course, I don't understand any place that has it's uptight, especially when you're talking about going outside. But the thing about here is that it's kind of like how it was in Amsterdam for me too. Is what I realize is once people get over the stigma, they start to realize that tobacco smoke is way more irritating. So if people are out smoking, like for people who don't know, they sometimes get shocked or whatever. But it's once you get over it and people become more used to it. Like if you go to Amsterdam and you walk down the street and you smell cannabis, it's like there's no big deal. You know what I mean? It's like there's probably a coffee shop to the left or the right, and everyone gets really used to it. And it's then it's just a to me it's like a helping the environment just by the smell, you know?
Oh yeah,
So,
absolutely. And people, once they get over the ridiculousness of, oh God, I could get high from that guy beside me smoking a marijuana cigarette, you know?
right.
So real quick, I mean, we've got a few minutes. You just mentioned
Sure.
Amsterdam. You've been around the cannabis world for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to start really young, you know, about 19, moved to Amsterdam, started working at the Hash Museum when I was 21. I started working for Sensi right after that, and started my own company about a year after that. So pretty much since I was about 23, I've always had my own thing going. We started with a place called CIA, which was a cannabis information agency, basically is what we were calling it, and it was a counterculture sort of spot. We just had a really good place in the middle of town, kind of did what we're doing with the lab. It was like through a lot of parties. It brought people together, had all the major players come through, like, you know, from Ed Rosenthal, Jack Gerard, every single writer, Mel Frank and Rob Clark, and all these great people coming through. And I mean, Amsterdam was literally like a cannabis funnel, and we were at the bottom of it, you know, so we always had everyone coming through our place.
Ed was actually on the show this evening. He was our 7:30 guest.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, so
and
you
it's great because
may. Did you ever hang out at the Cannabis Hotel with Mila while you were over there?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
sure.
she popped in and graced us with an interview a few weeks ago when she was over here visiting. I actually had the pleasure of taking her through her first ever dispensary.
That's cool. Yeah, we got her to by the lab for a minute there too, and it was quite nice. I mean, me and my wife, we both known Mila for years, so. And again, like her pollinator, when she came out with it, the first machine that she ever came out with, it was debuted at my store, and I was, you know, able to use it for the first 6 months. So I was pretty much the only person on the planet with a pollinator for 6 months. So you can imagine how quickly everyone came running with their bags of trim, you know, like. And then of course, only a year later, everybody had bubble bags, so things like that go quickly. But you know, I was just again lucky to have a chance to be around it at all times, you know. So I was. Started a seed company when I was 23, which is THC, and you know, that continues to this day. So I'm actually feeling pretty blessed that I picked an industry which is the exact opposite of what most people would think, that it's going to disappear, and actually it got bigger, you know.
It sure did. Well, Adam, real quick before we have to go, we got to call and plug another event. You guys have an event tomorrow night. You do First Friday events. That's every month,
yes,
I believe.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Do you have a website folks can visit you at, and you want to plug your info?
For sure. If they want to check out hoodlabstore.com for the Hood Lab itself. And if there's Facebook, you can look up Hood Labsters on Facebook, or Hood Lamb Colorado is our other site on Facebook. So 3 different angles there. For tomorrow night, though, we have Rastasaurus playing. They play at Coyotes a lot. So we got them playing. And we have a DJ out of LA called DJ Flargle. And we got a friend coming in from New York who's keyboard player for the Pipeline Boys from Alabama, so he's going to be joining in and do like a little session with the kids from Rastasaurus. So we got a pretty good lineup. Interesting.
Awesome.
Bringing that live music vibe to it, you know, and trying to just kind of give back a little bit to this industry.
Well, as I said on the phone off the air, I have not been to an event yet. I apologize. I, for the longest time, went home on Fridays. And this weekend, I'm going to go decompress in the woods and smoke some bongs. But next month, I will put it on the calendar. I will be at Hood Lab and hang out with you guys.
I'm going to go, too.
Okay,
yeah, Lisa and I both will be there.
Be about 7:30 tomorrow, so I'm going until about midnight.
Right on, bro. Yeah, everybody that's in town, make sure you get out there for that. Adam, thanks for coming on. I'd love to get you back on again. We'll talk some seeds. We'll talk some hash. We'll branch off a little bit. Thank you,
Sounds
sir.
Great. Thanks.
I hope you guys get all moved and have a good turnout tomorrow. We'll talk to you soon.
I will.
All right,
okay, thank you very much. Bye.
So we're going to try to call Mr. Slaw now. Down in the Springs this weekend, there's a big art show that I wrote the name down for. It's something like Cannabis Community. Go for it, Charles.
I think it's Cannabis Canvas.
Community Art Auction. That's what the two of us got it. See? You put 2 council board members together.
And we get it half right.
That's damn right.
But I've seen some of the things that are going to be shown there. They have some amazing cannabis art.
Oh, absolutely.
I know there's one picture that's made completely out of rolling paper, the outsides of rolling papers. There's a pipe that is hand carved with cannabis leaves in it. There's all kinds of beautiful art that's going to be there.
So how'd you get a preview?
I have Facebook. Maybe you've heard of it.
Feel the love. Feel the love. What am I going to do if you leave? I mean, who's going to give me shit? Hey, Mark, are you there?
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, I was getting made fun of by my co-host. How are you this evening?
That's awesome. It sounds like you guys are having a good time.
Yeah, we usually do.
We were talking about your art auction.
Yes.
Oh, right on.
But we're going to let you
Cool,
plug
yeah,
that
I'm
now.
really excited about it. I just posted another art piece to the Facebook page. It looks great.
And that's funny because I was just talking about some of the pieces I'd seen so far on there, and that's what we were laughing at because Stickman asked me, so how did you get a preview? And I said, I have Facebook.
Yeah, totally. I think it's great that the artists have seen their stuff on there, and people can then link to their pages and kind of see what they create. And I mean, it's really cool to see just the local talent that's coming forward, and I'm really excited for the night.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to digress, I wish I had time to look at Facebook stuff. I'm too busy working for the radio show all the time, 24/7.
The radio for sure.
I just run a dispensary.
So. Yeah, you have all the time in the world. That's all you do. So, Mark, you guys are at Smokebrush, and Smokebrush, is that a studio is it an existing art studio there in the Springs?
Yeah, Smokebrush has been around almost 2 decades. They're an existing artist cooperative in the Springs that has a yoga studio and kind of an event center that they have underneath the Colorado Bridge, where they hold Blues Under the Bridge every year. It's a really cool arts district depot. It brings really to life the urban environment we have in Colorado Springs. And they, in that studio, Marmalade is what it's called. We're doing the event there. But Smokebrush is awesome. It's a great foundation. They've done a lot of good works in Colorado Springs over the years.
So tell us about some of the art that's going to be there for folks that may want to come out and spend some money. I mean, it sounds like there are a lot of mediums. It's not just watercolor or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. This is not your college art class. It's definitely more of an expression of a lot of different people coming from a lot of different places. And that's really important to the art because all of us in the society tend to. These artists are doing works on oil and canvas, of course. I've seen some water pastels. I've seen some prints. One came in today that was just beautiful. It was a photograph of a lady that had a picture in her hand of her friend who had actually passed away from cancer. And while she was in her deathbed, this was back in 2006, the artist had brought her a ballot so she could vote on legalization back then. And the piece just said, along the lines of this patient had to use marijuana illegally because she couldn't obtain any in the hospital in order to help her for chemo. So, I mean, it's amazing to see the types of mediums people are putting forward and to see how this art is coming out in their personal lives. They've been, touched one way or another by marijuana in our society.
So on a side note, we have a shot up of you holding a sign that says God created marijuana and stop saying he's wrong. And you're also on the phone, and you're also holding something else, and you also have your European carry-all slapped over your shoulder. Point being, Mark's a busy guy. Yeah. You and I, we talked about it a little bit. I kind of wanted to touch while I have you on the phone real quick, and we'll plug, the stuff for the art show at the end again. About council stuff, because we haven't talked about the council for a while. We've got about, 3 or 4 minutes real quick. We were out at Blues Under the Bridge. The turnout was so-so at our booth because it was ridiculously hot. Mark and I were there all day.
Oh, yeah. It was a scorcher.
It was rough. That was a tough duty. That was actually hard work.
I had a good time with you, though, Jason. I mean, that's one of the events we've done. We've done. We did Pride Fest, I think, that same weekend.
We did.
So we get out there and we get literally to the streets and information to people directly. People have to know about Amendment 64 if we're going to move that forward. People have to know about different events going on and what's happening with their local DA execution that's coming down on patients. It's an important message to spread with boots on the ground. There's no other way to do it to build that groundswell and move forward so that the council a rally in front of Dan May's office this Monday, just with the message that he needs to be educated on the prosecution of patients. And we've had medical marijuana laws in place for, over a decade.
Yeah,
We
I
fight
actually
to definitely protect those rights.
we plugged Audrey at the beginning. I forgot to mention I got a text from a mutual friend of ours from Occupy.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey man, good job on KRDO." And I'm like, "Dude, what are you talking about? I didn't talk to him. I gave Audrey that. That was her deal, you know." And he's like, "No, I could hear you in the background lecturing the DAs as they were coming and going." So, we are out there. I mean, I was at that protest. We try to have a presence at anything that goes on locally that we can be at. I know the art show is kind of a little extension off of the group. We do things like that too.
Yep,
I'm sorry,
we
go ahead.
hold mixers every month for our dispensaries down here in Colorado Springs to try to get them engaged with their information and being the best they can be at this industry.
We need more of the dispensaries to join the council.
We do.
Oh, absolutely. That's what we need is membership. And it takes the patients asking their dispensary, what are you doing for me? Because in the end, it boils down to everybody in this being in this together. And so I really think it's important dispensaries get on board and support an organization, if it's not CBA or Act 4 or some of the great Denver organizations that are up there, Sensible Colorado, that, council is happy to take your money to and be supported so we can continue fighting the fight. And that's really why we're holding the fundraisers. Because, it's not easy to move forward with this stuff without the support there, of our resources and our people to get things done.
Sure. Well, and I missed, with our move this week, I missed our meeting because of our open house up here. I felt like I might want to make a presence up here once in a while. But I am, also working on the letter. It's in the works right now, and it's rough, but in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, we'll be offering workshops to CSPD, El Paso County, and Dan May's office. Hopefully,
I think that's a great idea.
Hopefully they'll work with the council. Hopefully we can reverse what we saw in Bob and Elisa's trial and Jesse's. And
exactly.
If they're educated, then they can't claim ignorance.
I heard a rumor this week that somebody had charges that were very similar to mine that got dismissed this week.
Charles,
do you know anything about that?
I do.
Which, the case.
We forgot to ask Charles.
I know a few of them that are in the works.
There was
they did all these arrests, a year and a half ago. We're just seeing them in trial now after a huge waste of taxpayer dollars, of course.
I don't know. Charles is here with us still. He says he knows the details of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was a center owner that was charged with Class 4 felony possession and cultivation. The way the trial went, according to what I've been able to find out, is that in that particular case, the matter was never even submitted to the jury. The judge, upon motion of defense counsel, dismissed the case prior to the time that they even submitted it to the jury.
That's awesome.
And
that is amazing.
So the charges were dismissed. The jury didn't even get to decide.
I think before we close out the show, what happened right there, every one of us sitting around this table should pat ourselves on the back for, because what Elisa did by taking a stand at her trial and what we work with, every day with educating folks, I think we're seeing that change. Absolutely. And we're seeing this happen.
And I'm glad to see our judicial system uphold the law and not waste the resources or waste people's time being on a jury for a case that shouldn't go up in the first place. So
absolutely.
That's great to see them turn around on this issue too.
By chance, Charles, that wasn't one of the judges, either Schultz or Schultz or Schutz, was it?
No, it was not.
Okay, just curious. Elisa and Bob's judges.
Yeah.
All right, Mark. Well, we got to get out of here for the night, but tell folks again where they can come out and check this art out at.
Absolutely. You can go to Marmalades at Smoke Brush on the internet and find the event there. You can also find it on Facebook at The Cannabis Canvas. And it's an open invite. The link is there to register and to be able to see the art that we were talking about earlier. I'm really excited about the event. Still got to collect a lot more art tomorrow and get things in place come Saturday, but we hope to see as many people there as we can.
Right on, sir. Well, thanks for coming on, and I hope you guys have a great turnout. I think you know where I'm going this weekend. I'm going to be, as soon as Chris puts it on, I'm going to be out at the Bongathon. For anyone who doesn't have anything to do this weekend who wants to get away to the woods like me, we've plugged 2 other events, so you should definitely hit those if you can't. But if you feel like spending a little money and coming out and hanging in the woods with a bunch of bongs, here it is. Bongathon.com. It's bong / or -a-thon.com. You can go on there and register and probably buy your pass and all that fun stuff. So I hope to see everybody out there hanging in the woods with me. Well, not too many people, but a few of you. We're going to get out of here for the night. I want to thank Charles and all of our guests tonight, Ed, and everyone else who stopped in and said hi. Hopefully we'll get them all back and talk some more. I know we'll see Charles a lot. Elisa, we're going to have her around for a little bit longer, and our faithful producer, Mr. Custer, over there. So we'll be back next week. Until then, let's all just go out and have some fun this week. We love you.
Peace out.